Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Consciousness Road Trip podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Watt, and again we're joined by a special guest while we take a deep dive into the tools of access consciousness while we explore this amazing planet that we live on.
Okay, so welcome everybody to part number 2 with the Watt duo. Brendon Watt.
The Watts.
That's me. Sarah Watt.
And Sarah Watt.
That's my sister. We promised you guys a part 2, so we're going to have a shot at that today. Hello, sister.
Hello. I love people won't see your background when they listen to this, but it's making me very happy knowing that you're currently at the lazy Double Dee Ranch in Blytherville, Texas. It's making me and my body very happy.
Yeah, right. It's so beautiful. It's like, I've got my house in Houston, which is stunning. It's such a beautiful place and it's so comfortable and elegant. And it's like I got home from the ranch 2 days ago and then this morning I was like, I'm bored already. So I drove back out here and now I'm outside and it's just so beautiful. The spring flowers are out and the place is just wonderful. Talk about peace. So that's me. I'm suffering.
It sounds horrible. Sounds terrible. And maybe even that's somewhere where we can start. I know on the last, and we were both laughing then because, we recorded that podcast, 3 or 4 days ago. It might as well have been 3 or 4 centuries. We talked a lot about creating a future and I get we'll get into that, but also maybe starting with even this where, I'm here in Australia and, I'm surrounded by beautiful nature as well, but where everything can be a contribution too. Right now, just tapping into the energy of the ranch and inviting that into my world and how that also contributes to what I'm choosing and what I'm creating, and also knowing that, that there's a possibility with that or something or... Yeah.
Well, it is. And it's but that's the energy of you too. It's it really is the energy of us. When you don't have that sense of space in your world, then you're not being you. There's something there's something you're aligning and agreeing with or resisting and reacting to, or it's not yours altogether, but it's not the space of being at all. So when I get to it, which I have been a lot lately as well, it's even for me, it's I go, fuck, I'm cranky, or it's but I also I know enough about myself to know that, okay, this isn't mine. What is this? Yep. What's going on right now? Even last night for me, it's I kept waking up throughout the night and I was getting crankier and crankier and crankier. And I was like, I'll just go back to sleep and the crank will go away. The crank didn't go away. And so I started asking questions, that whole thing of asking questions and going, okay, so what's going on here? And one of the things I know with anger and crank, because it wasn't really just cranky, it more had a sense of angry to it. And I was going, okay, so the thing with anger is, in order to be angry, there's a lie somewhere. This is one of the ways that you get angry, is there's a lie somewhere. So I was going, okay, so what's the lie here? And I realized, well, how many people on the planet right now are lying to themselves, but haven't actually gotten to that place where they're willing to look at it yet? And once again, I'm the poster child. That's me.
And me too. Maybe it's a Watt thing. I think we're both poster children.
Yeah. So if your last name's Watt, you're screwed. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry about that. But there's a lot of us, But it's but I went. Not only where have I been lying to myself and not acknowledging that, but also what am I aware of with where everybody else is lying to them. And the thing is when you get your life to be so busy, you won't actually look for what's true for you. You'll look for how do you keep it busy so that you don't ever have to choose something different. And that's been a big distraction for me as well. So that was interesting. So when I started going, okay, so what's the lie here? What's the lie, spoken or unspoken? And it started getting lighter. I went, okay, so everything that is, and everywhere I'm buying into the lies I've bought about me that aren't true, and everywhere I'm aware of the lies that others have bought about them that aren't true, that I'm making true, I'm now destroying our great. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, meons. So that's what I've been doing,
And I think like maybe looking at that as well, like, because we did on the last podcast, we did talk about how quick actually this change can be, and how quick, in Access, we talk a lot about this 10-second increments of choice, which is amazing. And it's something that was a huge muscle for me to start working. But it's almost like in this time now where I have so much time, quote unquote, so much space, it's like 10 seconds is even way too long. It's like, where can we start looking at also those instant moments of, like, for you waking up and then choosing, I'll try to go back to sleep, or going, okay, now I'm going to ask some questions. Like that instant place where it is just that one choice that is going to keep changing and keep creating that direction or that place that we want to move to.
Well, it's like, one of the things is you've got to be willing to choose that even which isn't going to work. And it's like a lot of people stop themselves and go, well, I've got to find out the choices that you can come in. I've got to find out the choices that are going to work before I can choose, which takes you out of the 10 seconds of choice and into trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Every time you go and try and figure out your choices, where you've already killed the future of it, you've gone into, now I have dogs here and I have Susie. But it's like, that's where you go into figuring out, and it takes you out of the place where you get the awareness of what's true for you. And the other thing is you've got to just be willing to choose.
Yeah.
Got to be willing to choose and go, okay, how did that turn out? Oh, that was cool. Now what else do I have? Oh, that was cool. Now what other choice do I have? Because it puts you into this place where you're moving forward through the choices. You're not becoming the effect of your choice. The only way that we become an effect of our choice is when we think that we don't have another one.
Yeah.
And then we go, oh my God, I can't believe I chose this. My life is ruined. Yeah, but that's being the effect of what you've already chosen, rather than going, okay, I have another choice. What gift is this choice to get me to the next one?
And it also completely takes the place of being able to make yourself wrong or right about anything as well, which I think is another thing with choice that I know I catch myself on so much, is like, oh, that was the wrong choice, I better choose something else. Or, oh, that was the right choice, so I'll choose that again. And I think we talked about it on the first podcast a little bit, of creating our future based on like the past, basically, like what has or hasn't worked before, and how, because you don't really have to think about any of this. You don't have to think about any of it. It can just be this consistent forward motion of choosing, and it never being about analysing your choice or like that place where you need to figure anything out, which is it's different. It's like there's no one that offers something like this as a choice.
Well, it's different as well, because if you can't figure it out and you can't explain to somebody why you're choosing it, and this is where a lot of people stop choosing as well, or they'll go, okay, well, somebody will say, why did you choose that? And they'll go, I have no idea. So now I have to analyze my choices before I choose, so that I can justify my choices, rather than go, because I could.
Like when you're a kid, right? Like how a kid chooses is really that place of where, because in their world it's like, and I mean, we can't all choose what a child chooses all the time, maybe sometimes, but more to have
horrifying.
But more to have the energy of how a child chooses, where it really is that, like, just they don't look at what they chose like, oh, well, that was a stupid thing to do, I better make myself wrong and think about it. They just go, oh, I fell down. Oh, off I go again and choose something else.
Well, it's interesting with that. It's like the thing that came on, you said that was, I remember I'd only just started doing Access, and I was with Dane in New Zealand, and he was about to go on TV for something, and this girl came up to me because I went with him, and she asked about the Who Does It Belong To tool, and she went, okay, so wouldn't that just mean that I'm not responsible for any of my actions? And I went, not quite how it works, but it's like, that's the way this reality does it, is it's like, even with choice and what you're talking about, where you go, okay, so I could choose with, I'll come see you later.
I'll stay around.
Okay. The dogs are being noisy. You're like, well, I could choose like a kid, but where is my responsibility in that?
Yeah.
And this is the thing where we go, oh, well, I have to act responsible, but responsible is only the willingness to respond quickly. And we've taken it into this whole thing of, well, in order to choose, I must find out how I can give myself up for everybody else, rather than just choose and not explain it to anyone or anything but you.
Yeah. Oh. Let's
brought up.
Yeah.
We're trying to create it. Right, yes. Back on Buck, all 9 shorts, boys and millions. And once again, guys, it's like this has been in my face big time in the last couple of weeks with what's going on the planet. And it's like, getting to that place, see, what we've been talking about in Access forever is you can either be right or you can be free. You cannot be both. And to have that freedom in your life, you have to get over this idea that I need to get my choices right or I can't be wrong, because it just doesn't create any freedom for you to see what you can choose.
Mm.
So let's do a practical. I like to, talk about all this cool stuff, but it's like, I want you guys to actually have something that you can use to get you beyond these things. And it's like, the thing with Access is we use the clearing statement. We talk about all these tools because they work. They really work. We've all been using them and our lives have all changed. So what jails are you using to create the dominance of E equals MC squared as always having to be all right or all wrong in every choice in life and living that keeps you from creating a reality with no conclusions than anybody else can have? Everything that is times a Godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, and pop, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds.
That one still does my head in. And I know we've been running that clearing since, I think it was the 7-day in Langkawi last year or something. And I'm still like,
So what jails are you using to create the dominance of E equals MC squared? Oh my God, these dogs are so cute. It's like the great foot along here and they're rolling around in it, playing. So you can barely, you can half see the dog, but you can, anyway. Bright shiny thing. I'm being distracted. So what jails are using to create the dominance of E equals MC squared as always having to be all right or all wrong in every choice in life and living that keeps you from creating a reality with no conclusions than anybody can have. Everything that is times a Godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds.
And like with running a clearing like that too, for people that are listening and might be like a little bit newer to this sort of stuff, like that can be something that really just sends you into a bit of a tailspin. So also even with this stuff too, like having that place where you don't need to figure it out, like it's just this thing of like, and this is where all the tools and especially the quote unquote basic tools in Access, like if it feels light, do it. If you run a clearing like that and it creates lightness in your world, keep running it. Record yourself saying it. Have Brendon saying it. Put it on a loop. Play it in your pocket or while you're sleeping where it's playing in the background. And like the thing I've found with access above and everything else is you don't have to know any of it. You don't have to understand any of it. You don't have to figure any of it out. And for me, like, I was looking at this over the last few days as well, and just looking back over my life and remembering being a child and never having to figure anything out, and then coming to a place where I'm like, I must figure everything out. And now all of a sudden having this freedom to have a place of never having to figure anything out again, and how, you know, it can create so much more, and not needing to know how any of this works and just playing with it and seeing what shows up. And even with the choice thing, like what if people were willing, or what if you guys listening were willing to just go, okay, so for today I'm going to choose whatever, choose, and every choice I make I'm going to look at, am I choosing this to be right, or am I choosing this to be free, and go with like the energy of what is fun and what shows up there as well. And even for you, Brendon, like, you facilitate COPs, you're one of, like, you know, the big 4 facilitators in Access. Like, you're someone that, you know, you have this
even that, like, I don't have it right either, you know.
Exactly.
Like,
so maybe we could talk about that quickly too.
well, it's like, and I'm grateful for you bringing that up, because it's like I was having I was talking with you guys before with stuff that we have coming up, and talking about even the podcast, and Melanie, one of the girls that works with us, she said, wow, that one was like you guys, which was part 1, the previous one, which was you guys were really just going out there. And I was like, yeah, well, but that's what's fun for me. It's fun for me to talk about the stuff that I know, but for many years I've been trying to bite size it into these things that that could be figured out. But I know for me, that's not what I want. I mean, when I first came along to my access to a level 2 and 3 that Gary Douglas was facilitating, and it's like, I didn't really understand that much of it at all. I was going, none of this makes sense, but my life is changing energetically at a rate that I've never had. Like, it was like fireworks were going off in my world. Things were changing based on his willingness to be that different and not confine himself in order for me to define him, so that I could define myself more in order to make that definition of me bigger.
Yeah.
And that's what I see a lot of us do with change, is we go, okay, well, if I can define myself more in order to change, I can make the definition of me bigger, which is the change. That's not change. That's making the definition of you bigger, so that you can keep defining yourself as something greater based on your definition. So every definition that you're trying to come to define yourself more, so that you can define yourself as greater, so that you can define you as changing. When you are changing, but you're not changing, well, you're just trying to create it.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, beyond. So it's like, the things for me now, if it doesn't make sense but my world lightens up, that's when I know I'm heading in the right direction. If it makes sense and my world lightens up, that's when I'm heading in the right direction. If it makes sense and my world is not lightening up, I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
So it's like, you've got to go from that place of light and heavy, which is really the key to it's one of the biggest keys to choice, when you're willing to be aware of the energy of what the choice is going to create.
Yeah. And with that as well, like, I was on the Joy Business Facilitator training with Simone Millicis this week, and I asked her a question, and she brought up this thing about Sarah's world, like how we construct, and this is like what you were just talking about then, how we define ourselves, and we will increase our definition of ourselves without ever actually wanting to truly choose something different or change something. Like, just to look at that quickly as well, with creating a bigger world for ourselves, like what that looks like in a way with choosing where, because, you know, for me, she brought up the thing like, you know, I wanted a horse in Costa Rica. So I actualized that, and then I chose, okay, so now I wanted a horse in Houston. So I actualized that, but there was still somewhere where I was.
Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
How did you actualize it?
Well, I just asked the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's
instant
look at
ease. Yeah.
But see, it's like, but that's the way that creation works from that instant ease, is when you're willing to be, when you're willing to receive what you're asking for, all you have to do is ask.
Yeah.
When you're not, and it's like, for me, when I'm asking for something that I've decided I want, but I know I don't, but I've decided I do, and I'm asking for it, going, where is it? Do you actually want it?
Yeah.
But it's like, see, the thing with the horse, you went, yeah, I'm having a horse in Costa Rica. Done. I'm having a horse in Houston. Done. I'm having, I'd like to travel more. Done. I'd like to earn more money. Done. Based on that willingness for you to ask from that place of what's going to create more for me in the future.
Yep.
Not what's going to define me more as what I've decided is right about me.
Yep.
And it's like, so I want to give you guys this process. What energy, space, consciousness, and choice can I be to be out of control, out of definition, out of linearity, out of form, structure, significance, out of concentricities, and out of...
linearity?
I said that, didn't I? Linearity. Everything that is times the we're just trying to create... Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, millions. Oh, what energy, space,
Run it again.
would be out of definition, out of control, out of significance, out of form. No. Oh my God, I've gone brain dead. You guys are sending me brain dead. Susie, help me. What energy, space, consciousness, and choice can I be to be out of definition, out of control, out of form, structure, significance, out of concentricity, out of linearities for all eternity. Everything does allow that. Tons of gods will be destroyed and created.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pop, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
And can I, just going from there with being willing to be out of control and all of the other parts of that, like where we talked about then with creating my world, my future, asking for the horses, asking for the money, asking for the travel, I'm becoming so much more aware now that isn't enough. Or it's not that it's not enough, it's that I know now there's way more universes of possibility available. So also with running that...
Can I just say something with that? Like if you look at where you went to then with, not that it isn't enough, as though that made me wrong also, that I'm asking for more because I should also be in this place of, well, I know that's enough, but I want more. So like that's that place where we try and expand the definition of what we can receive rather than go, I'm fucking grateful for every single thing I have, but it's not enough. I want a bigger world. How do I get to that bigger world? Not based on what I have, not based on what I'm choosing, not based on... How do I get to something that is so much bigger? I mean, for both of us growing up, I mean, how much were we told that you should be grateful for what you have?
Yeah.
You know, why are you asking for more? I mean, there was people in our life that were like, you should be grateful for what you have. You shouldn't ask for more. You should be... It's like, so we're taught and we're trained to receive in increments on what other people can use to control us with, rather than, okay, what's out there that we haven't even explored yet? What can I ask for if I was willing to be and have everything? Yeah. And it's like, and that could be a question that you can ask yourself, okay, so what can I receive today if I'm willing to be everything? Yeah.
And the other question you've...
contribute to it.
Yeah, and that other question you've asked somewhere, which I've been running, is what can I be today that I've never been willing to be before? Because that place of being takes you out of all of those definitions and all of that stuff, and out of... and just has that place of... And, you know, what you were talking about growing up, like I remember even like with the energy, what you were saying, where I knew there was more available, but people would would say not to like be happy with what you've got. It was almost like I would need to sneakily it goes to this place where you almost like need to hide the fact that you want something greater and that you're willing to ask for more and you know that there's more available. So like where we have that with ourselves as well, where it's like, oh, well, I'll just do it, but I'll make sure no one sees me. Like I remember as a child there being a lot of times where this sneaky energy came up because I was like, well, I know I can have it, but they're telling me I can't. So where we're willing to expose that as well.
Yeah. So what have you decided that you need to hide from? What have you decided you need to hide from in order to ask for it because other people can't receive, because of the judgment other people will have of you asking for it that keeps you hiding it from you.
Yep.
It doesn't allow you to have it from you. Everything that is time to go to where you destroy and create it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and millions, because it's like, well, I'm going to hide this. I'm going to hide myself asking for this, but it's like, but you have to hide that from you. We go, well, that's too much. I can't ask for it. That's why it's not showing up.
Yeah. And it's also where all of the separation starts to get created as well, where you've got to find places to separate from everything because you're so...
Well, you've already decided it's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've already decided it's wrong to have it, or you'll be made wrong for having it. So what have you decided that you could ask for that you'll be made wrong for receiving that doesn't allow you to receive it or ask for it?
Yep.
Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yep.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, millions. My point of view is you can ask for anything. If it shows up, it shows up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You might as well ask for it.
Yep. And it's also that place, I think, as well, where you see other people, you create like such this world of like it's almost like you're sabotaging everything with this, where you're not going to a place of being willing to be and receive everything. You see other people asking and receiving for things, and then you go to separate from them as well, because it's like, yeah. And I know we've talked a lot about in these last few days on different calls and things about being in relationship with everything and then separating from it, and just how much this is like, this place of like hiding anything from ourselves just creates this place of, like total destruction of our choice and of our future. And
I love listening to the way you talk about it too, because it's like, you so get it. You're fucking brilliant.
Thank you.
It's like you actually get you get the way that all of this works, and it's like, it's just wonderful. I'm very grateful.
Well, yeah, and me too. And I'm grateful as well for being able to have these conversations, and also for this stuff being available in the world. Like for people that are looking for it, that find it today, tomorrow, in 5 years' time, that there's somewhere where we can talk about. And like having this energy of like the weirdness of it, like really remembering even us being kids and us talking about stuff, or even conversations I'd have with other people, and I would be like, fuck, this is weird. Like this is like not what we're meant to talk about. But I knew there was so much, and exactly what you were talking about in classes with Gary, it was this place of like, I don't understand any of this, but it's lighting up and creating such a space in my world that I want to keep exploring it. And that for me is what it is waking up every day and knowing I get some of this, I don't get a lot of it, and I really desire to just keep exploring and finding the openings of like new possibilities and what else is possible with everything. Like and you know, we talk about one or two things. We talk about choice, about future, about separating, about all these things, but they're just part of like this whole universe of choice available to us. And like to just like say to everyone listening, like just keep choosing, just keep going, just keep looking for those places and those pockets to open up for you so you can find more of it. And
and you know what, just with the way that you were just describing to getting to these different places was, I don't know if you played it as a kid or if anybody else has, but it was like this, where I think you put something somewhere in a room and somebody would go to find it and you'd be like, it'd be warmer or colder.
Uh-huh.
That was the thing. So it's like you hide something and then somebody would have to find it and they'd be like, and you'd be going colder, 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 which meant you were getting further and further away from what you were looking for. And then if it was warmer,
hot,
it's like
hot.
That's the energy of finding the direction of your life, because when it starts going colder, you're going, I'm not going for what I'm looking for. But see, the other thing is we all have this, without being significant, we all know that we're going for something in life. We all go, well, but I just want to get married and do that. That's fine also, if you can still create your life. But we all know we've got something, and we all know when it's colder, change directions. And the way you do that is, okay, what different choice can I make here? But the thing is, even in that game where you're going colder, and you're getting further away from what you want, all it takes to get closer to what you're asking for is one step. One choice from change, people. That's all it takes, is that one choice, and then you keep making choices in order to create it.
Yeah. It's almost like this thing of like you're moving in one direction and you're getting that quote unquote feeling or that sense of like, this doesn't feel like the right direction. Like, what if in that moment you just pivoted slightly, like 1 degree of like choice? It doesn't have to be this 180 degrees or like this, oh, my relationship's going in the cold direction, I'm going to throw the whole thing in the bin. Like, what if it was also just this place of like it being like, okay, I'm just going to switch just ever so slightly and see what direction that takes me in now. I love that analogy of that game. It's so
and all
true.
You have to do is make another choice, okay, and see if it works. It's not about figuring it out. So, have we been going for an hour yet, or what's?
No, but I think it's a good length. Like that.
We might need a part 3.
Yeah.
All right. So apparently we have a lot to talk about. So I hope this contributed to you guys. We're grateful that you're listening. I also got the feedback today from the podcast listens. The guy was like, wow, this is really good. And I was like, cool. How does it get any better than that? So I hope this contributes to you guys, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, Sarah, for being here.
Thank you, Brendon. Thank you, Brendon. And thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Consciousness Road Trip podcast. If you'd like to find more of my podcast or more information, you can head to my website, sarahwatt.com.au/road trip or sarahwatt.podbean.com. See you on the next episode.